What I got today was my platypus filled up. I got 3 liters of water right out of the creek at the Maker's Mark Distillery. I got a couple water bottles at the Dollar General store with some distilled water. I've rinsed those out already. I got my chinois because I travel in style in a saucepan, and some coffee filters. This is going to take a few passes, I see. I think I got a spider in here this morning too. Once I get this all filtered, it'll be safe back to Fairbanks, and then I'll pasteurize it. Farm in Loretto, Kentucky, with a Dixie cup into a Camelback. My hunting buddy has my activated pump action charcoal filter water purifier, so I had to do without that. The night I got this stuff, I also bought these plastic bottles, and I ran the water through a plain old coffee filter one time before to get the algae and the bugs out of it, and then I drove for, I think it was 6 more days. So this stuff's been in this plastic for a while. I want to let it off gas. I want to filter it again a second time through the coffee filter, and I want to let it off gas for a week or two before I pasteurize it. It doesn't have an odor to it, but I know it's going to have picked up some aromatics from the plastic that I don't want in my sipping whiskey. What I want to do, and I got a lifetime supply here, I want to put about 2 drops of whiskey in or 2 drops of water in a snifter of whiskey, just to help that nose blossom just a little bit. If you've been to Scotland and toured a few of those stills, you'll find generally that they will let you take a couple drops of water out of the actual creek that runs beside the still that they use in the mashing process, and they use in the brewing process, and they use in the dilution process. And there's something magical. Alrighty, ambient temperature today is right about 72 degrees. What I've been seeing in this water, I doubt you'll be able to see them, over about right here and about right here are 2 little tiny flakes of what's probably calcium carbonate. As the temperature gets up in the 80s, those will turn into little pebbles, and when my ambient temperature gets down into the 50s, they tend to disappear. So at room temperature and approximately 1 atmosphere pressure, this water from Whiskey Creek on Star Hill Farm is darn near saturated with calcium carbonate. Let's review a little chemistry. What we have here is a solution of water that is apparently saturated or nearly saturated at room temperature with calcium bicarbonate. Like this, 2 carbonate ions on the calcium. Now there's a temperature thing going here when we're talking about the aqueous state, which obviously we are. There's a bunch of water here. We can get calcium carbonate with just 1 carbonate ion on it, which is that white stuff you see on the bottom of a tea kettle. And also water, of course, and also carbon dioxide, CO2. Now the solubility of carbon dioxide varies with temperature. So as I heat this stuff to pasteurize it, I'm going to drive some CO2 out, which is going to create some calcium carbonate flakes in the bottom of the pot. And then when it cools back off, hopefully it'll reabsorb some CO2 and run this equilibrium back over here towards the bicarbonate. I want to keep all this stuff over here. That's the good stuff that smells so good when you put just a couple drops in your bourbon. All right, we're up to packaging. I've got a sterile work area here. I got my bottle capper hanging out that's not sterile. I got the water sample. I should need 8 12-ounce bottles. I brought 10. I have sterilized with bleach pouring beaker, sterilized funnel, sterilized plate. Over here, once this comes to a boil, I'm going to have some sterile bottle caps, and it will sterilize my strainer. And I got my coffee filters out. I'm going to pull 1 coffee filter out of the middle of the stack and then pour through the strainer into here, and then from there through the funnel into the bottles and cap them up. So they should last a good long time. Alright, we got a good strong boil going here. There's no germs living on those lids. Now paper products like these are typically packaged while still in excess of 200 degrees Fahrenheit. So I want to take off, I got one of the, you see how they do those over there? These are the ones that are machine packaged hot. So I'm going to pull some of them out. And that top one should be sterile right now. Done with this. set these on my sterilized plate so they don't get any ideas while I'm working. Put this out by the corner. That over here in my pitcher. Move the camera. I think this is a pretty good spot. There we go. This is probably going to be a pain in the neck. But I need this full mixing bowl back. I've had this water sitting here, gosh, 3 weeks now. I read up on pasteurization, 40 minutes at 140 degrees Fahrenheit is supposed to be adequate. That's a little low, or low and slow for commercial stuff. Usually with like milk and stuff, they pasteurize it at a much higher temperature for a much shorter time. But we already talked about that, and why I didn't want to do it, so I'll not belabor the point. I'm filtering this 1/3 time. Ooh, I got some crud. So triple filtered, by golly. There was some microbe. I think it was a black mold, probably a cyano mold, that was in there before I pasteurized, and it's obviously dead now. But I'm still getting some dead stuff out of there that doesn't need to be stored in the bottle. So sterile bottle, sterile funnel, sterile pitcher. A little bit of extra oxygen, but it's not going to hurt anything. Tiny little bit of headspace, so it's got some room if the temperature changes. Keep that clean. Grab a cap by the rim. Alright, only 9 more trips of that. That was 142 to 148 degrees for 60 minutes on the pasteurization. It worked beautifully, I think. Alrighty, so I'm out of water, and I'm to here on the last bottle. And I have a special top for that one. Woohoo! We'll get into this later. Next, of course, we got to crimp these caps. You probably have a friend who homebrews beer. If you don't, you need one. Just kind of set those caps on there like that. Now, if you try this stunt yourself and you meet a copperhead snake down in Whiskey Creek, don't say you weren't warned. And there ain't nobody going to have a special much sympathy for you. It looks like copperhead habitat to me. Alrighty, my name is Scott W. I'm a Maker's Mark ambassador, and the only thing missing from this label is the international sign of the dork, of course, which is a square that's a little bit elongated. Well, here's a moment I've been waiting 15 years to enjoy. Open up one of these. Oh, nice. Nothing like little red wax in the burner of your electric stove. Get your attention tomorrow morning. Just a little smack roll. That's a good nose. So basically, it's a good whiskey to start with. We'll just take a little bit of this Whiskey Creek water. Not much. But it's kind of, I'm sorry, Bill. I don't want to use an adjective that'll make Bill Samuels irritated with me. I'm just going to take 2 drops of water here. 1, 2. And just kind of swirl this around a little bit. It just kind of softens it up, just a little bit. But it was worth the effort to me, I think. Oh yeah, let's put on some rock and roll. Something tells me that 6 is not going to be enough stocking stuffers.